you want, you ain't gonna get it. And so what I'm doing is opening my mouth, telling people what I want in the industry and out the whole world. I'm like straight out thugging.
Right.
Ghetto queen with mine.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Coming from the hood with it. And so
Former member of the Memphis rap group 3-6 Mafia has been found dead. She was found dead yesterday on the porch of a home in the Whitehaven neighborhood of Memphis.
Gangster Boo brother, and like I said to him, you was wrong. You should feel bad about yourself because you did wrong. You killed your sister. And I'm gonna say it.
You can't discuss the trailblazers of female rap without bringing up Lola Mitchell, better known as Gangster Boo. She earned the title of Memphis royalty, got labeled the Devil's Daughter, and represented as a founding member of the iconic 3-6 Mafia.
To feel to be the only girl in a all-male group.
it's cool because I learned a lot of things about you men. You know what I'm saying? I learned a lot of things.
But what many people don't know is how much darkness followed her throughout her entire life. Gangster Boo watched her inner circle disappear one by one, losing nearly 20 people along the way, and in the end she would tragically be pulled into that same darkness herself. So let's dive in. Lola Mitchell was born on August 7th, 1979 in Memphis, Tennessee, and her story didn't start in the projects or in chaos. Early on her life was pretty stable. She came from a middle-class home where her father Cedric worked as a postal employee, steady and consistent, while her mother Veronica held things down at home. It wasn't glamorous, but it was solid. Still, anyone who knows Memphis knows how thin the line is between comfort and struggle.
I grew up I had a decent life. I'm not a project baby. Right. My parents was together, married up until I was like 13, 14, something like that. So I grew up pretty decent, like in a good house.
That shift came when her parents divorced. After the split, Lola and her family moved to Whitehaven, and at one point Whitehaven had been an affluent white suburb, most famously known as the home of Elvis Presley's Graceland. But by the time Lola got there, white flight had already reshaped the area and the neighborhood had become predominantly black, earning it the nickname Black Haven. It was a place full of contradictions. You had black professionals, intact families, and ambition living right next door to poverty, gang activity, and street politics, and Lola later described it as having the best of both worlds because she learned how to move comfortably in middle-class spaces while also picking up the instincts you needed to survive in the hood. What often gets lost is that Lola wasn't just loud or rebellious, she was creative. She was a writer before anything else, and her father noticed it early. Instead of buying her dolls, he bought her tools, a keyboard, a karaoke machine, things that let her express herself, and Lola started with poetry, then letters to her dad, and those letters slowly turned into rhymes as she was soaking up the world around her. By the early 90s, Memphis rap was bubbling underground. This wasn't the flashy shine of Bad Boy or the smooth West Coast sound coming out of Death Row. Memphis rap was raw, lo-fi, and unapologetically dark. It leaned into menace, paranoia, and horror, and at the center of that movement were two producers who would change everything, DJ Paul and Juicy J. Lola attended Hillcrest High School, same school as Paul Beauregard, who the streets already knew as DJ Paul, and she didn't sit around, waiting to be discovered. At just 14 years old, she entered a school talent show and completely destroyed the competition, but she also knew talent shows weren't a career plan, and if she wanted to get anywhere, she had to get close to the source. That's when she set her sights on Lord Infamous, DJ Paul's brother and one of the main architects of the group's dark lyrical style. She got his number and started calling his house over and over. She would rap into the answering machine, hang up, then call again another day. She forced herself into their orbit, and eventually it worked. The phone rang back and they invited her to the studio. This wasn't some polished facility with booths and engineers. It was grimy and improvised, and Lola recorded her first verses in a closet. Her first official appearance came on DJ Paul's Volume 16 for the summer of '94.
I was the girl that used to call people phones and rap on their answer machines. So Lord Infamous, rest in peace to him. So I ended up finding his number, was rapping on his answer machine all the time, and he told Paul that I can rap. One female never showed up to the studio. Then they called me, and then I showed up to the studio, and I never left the studio.
When she stepped up to record, she didn't sound like a kid. She didn't sound like a girl trying to fit in. Her delivery was aggressive, confident, and confrontational. By 1995, the Loose Collective officially became 3-6 Mafia, and the name itself was a nod to 666, the mark of the beast, perfectly matching their horrorcore aesthetic. Their music leaned into the occult, street violence, fear, and the darker corners of the human mind. Lola officially joined the group at just 14 years old. She was the only woman in a crew full of wild, unpredictable men: DJ Paul, Juicy J, Lord Infamous, Kupstanika, and Crunchy Black. And to survive in that environment, she knew she couldn't just be Lola because being soft wasn't an option. So she created an alter ego that could stand tall in that darkness, and that's how the Devil's Daughter was born.
I was like young. I'm young now, but I was like 14. Right. I joined the group when I was 14.
Her presence on Mystic Styles, 3-6 Mafia's debut album, was undeniable. The album was recorded on a shoestring budget of around $4,500 at a small spot called the production room, and despite the limitations, the sound was revolutionary. On tracks like Da Suma, Lola wasn't cast as a side character, she was an aggressor, she sounded dangerous. But while the music was taking off, her real life was getting more complicated because Lola was still a high school student living a double life. During the day she went to class like a regular teenager, at night she was moving through the deep south, and the environment was unstable and often violent. Years later she revealed how when she was just 16, fellow group member Crunchy Black handed her a gun, and Lola admitted she was terrified of firearms. She didn't want it, but she understood the message without it being said. In that world, no one was fully protected, and if you were in the circle, you were responsible for your own safety whether you liked it or not. By 1998, 3-6 Mafia was no longer just an underground Memphis secret. They were breaking out in a real way, landing distribution deals, pushing records beyond the South, and getting industry attention. But inside the camp, it was obvious that Gangster Boo wasn't just another member of the group. She was a star in her own right.
I feel to be the only girl in a all-male group.
It's cool because I learned a lot of things about you men. You know what I'm saying? I learned a lot of things.
At only 18 years old, she dropped her solo debut, Inquiring Minds, and the album hit hard, but one song in particular took on a life of its own, Where Dem Dollars At? The record exploded and rang through strip clubs in Atlanta, cars in Houston, and block parties all across the South. The song worked because it was blunt and unapologetic. She was talking money plain and simple, and long before social media gave it a name, it was transactional feminism in rap form, and people loved it. The track climbed to number 15 on the Billboard R&B charts, officially putting Gangster Boo in a different league. But while her career was taking off, the darker side of the 3-6 Mafia lifestyle was starting to weigh on her. The devil imagery, the drug use, the non-stop chaos. It wasn't just a persona anymore, and for someone who came from a church-influenced background, the contradictions were becoming harder to ignore. In 2003, 3-6 Mafia released When the Smoke Clears. 66, 61, the album went platinum and cemented their place in hip-hop history, and Gangster Boo was everywhere. She was widely recognized as the first lady of crunk. She popped up on Outkast's Stankonia, one of the most important rap albums ever made. She collaborated with Foxy Brown. And from the outside, it looked like she was living at the top of the mountain. But behind the scenes, cracks were forming. The brotherhood inside Hypnotized Camp Posse wasn't as solid as it looked. Money was coming in, but tensions were rising over who was getting what and who wasn't. And for Lola Mitchell, the Devil's Daughter identity she'd created as a teenager was starting to feel less like armor and more like a trap. By 2001, she was 21 years old, platinum selling, respected, and successful, but mentally and emotionally she was worn down. The non-stop touring, the drug culture, and the aggressive energy of crunk had taken their toll. That same year, she released her second solo album, Both Worlds *69. It performed even better than her debut, peaking at number 8 on the R&B charts. Then she shocked everyone. Almost immediately after the album dropped, Gangster Boo walked away from 3-6 Mafia. The official explanation was creative differences and growing apart, but people close to the situation knew it was deeper than that. There were three major issues, and together they created an explosion waiting to happen. First was the money. Boo wasn't the only one who felt this way. Other members of the Hypnotized Minds universe would later echo similar complaints, but she believed the financial setup was unfair. DJ Paul and Juicy J controlled the label, and Boo felt her solo career wasn't being prioritized the way it should have been. She alleged that funds were being mishandled and that she wasn't seeing what she was owed. Second was pure exhaustion from being in a boys' club. She later said bluntly in interviews, "I do not want to bust with a bunch of boys no more." She was tired of being the only woman surrounded by reckless men, unchecked egos, and non-stop dysfunction. The third reason was the most unexpected of all, a spiritual breaking point.